Welcome to this week's edition of the Q1 Buck Poll. I'm Tim Hart with Mike Big Buck Hoffner. Well, we have kind of a wide range of topics to talk about today. We've got the DNR with us today, and Dan Prince, he's a conservation officer. He's going to talk about handguns and hunting because it's becoming more and more popular.
Well, it's so popular, Tim, that my wife and I this summer decided to take the concealed pistol license training program, and it was an excellent program, and I learned a lot from that opportunity.
Also on the show this week, we're going to be talking about the Rap Room, Report All Poaching, something that is very important. And as we talk about that, if you see somebody out there, don't take action, make a phone call.
Yeah, that's tremendous advice. Being a guy that works in the school system, we always try to say, don't try to take matters into your own hands by fisticuffing it in the hallways. Go to somebody that has the training to make sure that things get handled in a peaceful manner.
And we'll end the show with Tony LaPratte talking about getting in and out of your tree stand, some different tips and techniques from Tony LaPratte. And then we also have a featured property this week. So stay with us. We got all that and a lot of bucks here on the Q1 Buck Poll.
Firekeepers Casino and Hotel present the Q1 Buck Poll.
Back here on the Q1 Buck Poll, again, we invite you to get registered in the Q1 Buck Poll. You can go online at q1buckpoll.com, or you could take your deer to any registration location across the state. They're also listed on our website, or go to Facebook. We've got things on Facebook, too.
Yeah, well, we've done it all. We've made it real simple for them, Tim.
And we have bucks because a lot of people are having success out there right now.
All right, Tim, we've got a couple of bucks. Let's start out with Sage Grant up in the thumb, shooting an 8-pointer, and Carter Arbuckle from Southern Michigan with a 7-pointer. The score was 27.63.
And then we have a youngster who shot his first buck, and they sent it in to us on Facebook. Caleb Sattler, a 13-point non-typical. And I tell you right now, it seems like the kids came in with big bucks so far this season.
You know what? I've seen a lot of kids come in with some nice deer, so shout out to you, Caleb, for getting that first deer during the youth hunt. And that's what's exciting about the youth hunt, because you get an opportunity to go out there for all those deer start to get a little bit nervous. You get a little extra attention paid out there in the woods, and man, it paid off for Caleb.
A lot of people have their CPL, which is their concealed pistol license, and they will take their pistols out to the woods. Well, today we've got CO Dan Prince with us. He's going to talk about some rules and regulations. Mike, there are certain ways to carry your concealed weapon out there depending upon if you're taking another weapon out.
Yeah, and Tim, I brought along with me, I've got my concealed pistol license, and that's something that you want to make sure that you're carrying. But, the things that you learn out of this class are a little bit different when it comes to hunting, so you got to pay attention to the rules when it comes to carrying a pistol, because just because you have this license doesn't mean you can conceal it 100% of the time in any place. So you've got to pay attention to the rules, and he'll give us some good tips.
Time now for our DNR update. Today I'm talking with Conservation Officer Daniel Prince. He's with the DNR's Law Enforcement Division. Officer Prince, welcome to the Q1 Buck Poll.
Thank you.
Today we're going to talk about hunting with a handgun. What are some of the basic rules and regulations?
For handguns, you have to be 18 years or older, and the handgun has to be registered in your name.
All right. Are there different rules and regulations for different parts of the state?
Yes, there are. For the UP, it's larger than a .22 rimfire, and then for Lower Michigan, it's .35 caliber or larger straight wall cartridges.
What happens if somebody has a CPL license? Is that something that they can have that weapon concealed out there? What are some of the rules there?
There are a lot of questions involving the CPL license, which is concealed pistol license. And if you have a concealed pistol license, you can carry a concealed pistol, but for hunting, it can't be concealed if that's the primary hunting weapon.
So if I've got a long gun, I got a crossbow, whatever the case is, then it can be concealed. But if I don't have a primary weapon other than that pistol, it needs to be out.
Yeah, if you're using the pistol for hunting, like say deer hunting, that pistol has to be on the outside of your hunting jacket in a holster.
Mm-hmm.
In
Now,
plain view.
Can I hunt any game with a pistol?
You're limited to deer hunting. You can't hunt migratory birds with a pistol, because it would be single projectile, and also turkeys.
And what happens if somebody is coming from out of state and they're going to hunt in Michigan? You know, friends, family like to go hunting. Are there any different rules or regulations for somebody like that?
Well, if you're coming from out of state and you choose to hunt with a pistol, same rules would apply. It has to be in the outermost, it has to be in plain view, and you'd have to have that pistol registered to you.
And talk to me about the transport rules.
The transport is very important. It has to be unloaded and cased, and it cannot be accessible in the vehicle.
All right, and so as we talk about just kind of a quick overview, then again about the rules and regulations, I can hunt with a handgun. If it's my primary weapon, it needs to be out, correct?
Correct.
All right, and then if I have another weapon of choice, say again a crossbow, a long gun, then if I've got my CPL license, I can have it concealed.
That's correct.
All right. Do you see more and more people taking to the woods, hunting with handguns?
I think yes. I mean, the handgun has become very popular. I mean, the people that hunt with handguns are very specialized. Usually they're hunting with large frame revolvers or single shot pistols, and they're large bore, large caliber. Usually they have optics on them as far as scopes. They shoot with shooting sticks or off rests in their blinds. They're just very specialized. They know the regulations. They're capable of 50-plus yard shots.
And if somebody wanted to find out more about the rules or regs, or just to make sure that they're doing it right, the Hunting and Trapping Guide's got information?
That's correct. If you look in the Hunting Digest for this year, it's on page 20. You can find out more regulations on transport and the handgun regulations.
All right, well, thanks for being with us.
Thank you.
Conservation Officer Daniel Prince, he's with the DNR's Law Enforcement Division, talking about handgun hunting out there, especially for deer this year. Make sure you're safe whenever you're out in the woods. I'm Tim Hart, and you're watching the Q1 Buck Poll. Well, would you like to find out what's happening on the Q1 Buck Poll? We have the Q1 Buck Poll newsletter that goes out. Go online, get yourself registered on our website, and then when we send out our newsletter, which is about every other week, we've got some deals from clients, we've got some special things going on, and news and events. So it'd be a great way to stay in touch.
And keeping in touch, Tim, I want to get in touch with you guys with another couple of bucks that have been brought in. Let's start out with Brandon McCahey from South Mid-Michigan with an 8-pointer. His score was 28.63. Jim Meyer from Mid-Michigan brings in an 8-pointer. The score was 28.88.
All right, now it's time to talk with Dean Molnar, and he is with the DNR. He's going to be talking about the wrap room. And you know, Mike, a lot of people trespass on others' lands, which you shouldn't do. But when you see somebody on your land, don't take action. Really give the wrap room a call, which is report all poaching.
Yeah, again, I think it's such an important piece to understand is try not to take matters into your own hand. I mean, there are people that deal with this. You never know what you're going to get yourself into, you know, what kind of scuffles that it can occur out in the woods or, you know, like I said, even in the schools in which we run. You know, we try to train kids to try to diffuse situations, not escalate them. So he's got some great advice. So that's a wrap, man.
Well, we're now in the wrap room, which is the report all poaching room here with the DNR. We've got Assistant Chief of Law Enforcement Dean Molnar with us. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, sir.
All right, now we've been in the wrap room before and had a chance to kind of take a look at it. Explain how this operation works.
Sure. This is a 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year operation, Tim. We've got, as you can see, we've got our dispatchers out here, and they are taking calls coming in from the public. And when a call comes in, an operator will kind of at the screen behind me fill out this form. They're going to ask for a lot of information. Of course, the more detailed information we get, the better off the case the officer can make. But again, we man this 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, so somebody can call in. A lot of times people will see something during the day that maybe when they get home call in. But with the advent of cell phones now, it's almost immediate. They can call right in from the field.
And probably the big key is where are you located, and that way you can kind of match an officer within that area.
That's correct. I mean, as you know, we're downtown Lansing. We're on the 7th floor of the Mason building. However, with our radio system that we have, it's an 800 megahertz system that goes statewide. We can talk to somebody over on the west end of the UP like you and I are sitting here talking here. So this is where we dispatch all the information out to all the districts, because what we do is if it comes into, let's say, Otsego County, Okay, complaint comes in for Siegel County. The operator is going to go to our screen, and we know who's working, when they're working, and they'll be able to match the closest officer to that complaint to get that information as fast out in the field as we can.
Well, and one of the things I think a lot of people know statewide, and that is funding is down, not as many officers out in the field, and so that makes it even more important for people that are outdoorsmen and outside helping you guys out.
Absolutely, because, you know, we have the great pleasure of working for the department, okay, as conservation officers. However, the fish and game and the resources of the state belong to the people. You know, we work for the people of the state of Michigan, so we need their help. And that's why we have this 800 line that they can call in, and they can be our eyes and ears. All right, again, with cell phones and with, they can take photos, they can get information, a license plate number, description, time of date, place, all that type of things, and then call it in to us. Never, ever do we want somebody to take any enforcement action on their own. You know, I really want to stress that, be our eyes and ears, but again, it's everybody's resources, and we all need to work together to protect them.
Dean, let's talk a little bit about some of the stories and complaints. I know you had something in Aranac before last year with a complaint, and it wasn't just one person. We had a kind of a combination. Explain that to me.
Right. Well, that one came in. That was actually an Aranac where you wouldn't think a bear complaint would come in. Somebody witnessed somebody shoot a bear off of a combine. Okay, or at least they thought it was a bear. You know, again, so they called it in, our officers investigated, and actually that ended up being 3 people were charged with that one because one person actually did shoot a bear off a combine. Another took possession of the parts, of the hide and the claws and things like that, and another person took the meat. So 3 people were actually charged in that one. You know, and it's a matter of, we get all kinds of calls in here. I mean, anywhere from, I've got a person trespassing on my property, or I think somebody may be doing something illegal. If you think you've got a complaint and there's something there, give us a call. You know, we took over 6,100 complaints last year, you know, and many of those resulted in arrest.
All right, so here's a big question, though, for people out there. When should I not call the rap room?
Sure. You know, again, over 6,100 complaints came in here, but we get an awful lot more calls in here, too. What we suggest that if you've got a, let's say I want to know, what's the fishing like in Lake whatever, someplace, let's say up in Antrim County. You know, go to our website, and that's actually, Antrim County's out of the Gaylord District. You know, call the Gaylord Operations Service Center, you know, for that local specialized kind of information, because again, we're down in Lansing down here, and our operators don't really know that type of information. So we'd like to have them call the Operations Service Center when you have an informational question. And then you can we can get you to a wildlife biologist or a fisheries biologist, you know, to whatever your question may be. But if they're in doubt, you know, should I call or shouldn't I call? Call us. We want our folks to call us. You know, so if they're not sure if it's a complaint or not, or even if they're not sure where to go, don't hesitate to call us here.
Another thing that people might not be aware of, and that is you do have a rewards program that goes along with this.
Oh, absolutely. And this is something that we've had for a long time. Report All Poaching hotline can get you some reward money, you know, depending on the case and, you know, how much involvement the person gives us. You know, depends on how much we're going to pay them out. But we encourage people, and, you know, honestly, most people call in aren't in it for the reward.
Right.
Some people are, and some people really deserve it because they go out of their way to really help us protect the resource.
So you can be involved here with helping the conservation in the state of Michigan. The RAP line is available, again, as he said, 24/7. And the big thing, too, to remind people is you can remain anonymous.
Absolutely. If you choose so, you can remain anonymous. We can get the information. We'll get it out to an officer that you won't be contacted. Because a lot of folks, you know, are calling because it's maybe a relative or somebody they know.
Right.
And they're really hesitant. You know, our officers are professionals, and they know how to handle those situations. I mean, we've been doing it a long time, so you can call, you can leave that anonymous, or if you do want to say, you know, hey, I'll give you my information, but you can't, you got to help me here because it's a relative, let's say. Our officers can work with that person on that.
And I will let everybody know, too, that we are a big proponent of this on the Q1 buck poll. And if anybody is poached a deer or anything when it comes to, you know, not taking it legally, we make sure that we are in contact with the DNR. Of course, we have a lot of officers that look at the buck poll, the site, and see when deer were taken and all that type of thing because, again, we feel that it's a part of the stewardship out there.
Absolutely. We appreciate your support.
All right. Thanks for being with us.
Thanks, Tim.
All right. Assistant Chief of Law Enforcement Dean Molnar has been with us, and that's your DNR segment from the Rap Room here in Lansing. You're watching the Q1 Buck Poll. Well, it's time to look at some more bucks, but first of all, I would like to give a shout out to Kylie Gray. She shot a 7-point. That was her first buck, and people are communicating on our Facebook page, and we invite you to send us pictures, but we also invite you to go online to q1buckpull.com, download the registration form, and then send us the information, and you can be a part of the contest and maybe take home a little CVA muzzleloader.
I'll tell you what, I enjoy the kids, and a great shout out for the kids to what they've done during the youth hunt. But what an exciting time to be a parent, to be in the field with your kid when they bag their first deer.
Well, let's talk about deer right now.
All right, and speaking of deer, Tim, let's start out with Brady Gross from Mid-Michigan with a 7-pointer. The score was 29. Donald Stowe from South Mid-Michigan with an 11-pointer. The score was 31. And Les Secord up in the thumb with an 8-pointer. Again, a nice score of 31.
How do you get in and out of your tree stand? Here's some tips from Tony LaPrade.
This week I'd like to discuss entering and exiting. In my opinion, it's the #1 problem facing most deer hunters in the United States. Guys, what happens is when you're going in, you need to remember a few things. If it's light out, you need to be in the most open area you can be. It's simple as this. When it breaks daylight, the deer head into thick cover to hide from man. So now, if you're walking in the afternoon, you want to be in the food plots, you want to be in the field edges, you don't want to be near any thick cover because that's where the deer are. Now, you set in your stand that evening, the deer come out. Now, when you leave, the worst place to walk is in open areas because that's where the deer are planning on spending their night. Because now they need to get out of thick cover and be in a wide open area so the coyote cannot sneak up on them. So now if you try to walk along a field edge, you're going to be bumping a ton of deer. So what you need to do is go in thick cover to leave. Walk through thick cover leaving, open areas going in. Here's what's going to happen if you're not paying attention to details entering and exiting. If you look at your watch, use this as a system this fall. You go out hunting on the first day, you'll have deer in your food plot by 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Okay? Now you walk out that night and bump them deer. The next day, watch your watch, and you'll take off 45 minutes to an hour. They come out at 4 o'clock. Now, the third day, they're coming out the last hour of daylight. What this does is the buck always lets the does lead the way, and now he becomes nocturnal because the does are being pushed back. The key to great deer hunting is keep your does in the field 2 to 3 hours before it gets dark, and you'll have great deer hunting, and especially big bucks in front of your stand with great light. And that's the tip of the week from Tony LaPrade.
Always great information from Tony LaPrade from Ultimate Land Management. And if you're looking for land, which a lot of people are for hunting land, here's 40 acres in Augusta surrounded by woods and bean fields. Super white-tailed deer and turkey hunting. It's easy on and easy off of I-94. Hardwoods and rolling hills. Deer bedding and pass-through property. I'm telling you what, Mike, it's beautiful from Dan Hoffman from Trophy Class Real Estate.
I'll tell you what, somebody go out there and buy that and invite Tim and I up there. We'd love to hunt it with you.
Exactly. Well, Mike, a great show today. A lot of information, and we've got more information coming up from the DNR in upcoming shows. And we're trying to just educate people so when you go out in the woods, you don't have any problems.
And we just learned from our local conservation officer, Kyle Bader, this week that EHD, hasn't completely gone away. But, the good news is it's pretty common that when you have a large outbreak that the following year that you have a small percentage of EHD, and he told me the percentage is only about 5%. They've actually only found 5 deer in Branch County this year that contracted EHD, so that number is way down from what they were predicting.
Well, that's going to do it for this week's edition of the Q1 Buck Poll. For Mike Big Buck Hoffner, I'm Tim Hart. Remember, whenever you're out in the woods, be safe. Well, it was so good I didn't need to say anything.